Welcome to the latest episode of Worthy of Rescue. This podcast desires to take the listener on a transformative journey. Our narrative will delve into the wounds, echoes of pain in your life, even showing you a shielded journey, which reveals a glimmer of hope, symbolizing the divine protection amid your darkness. Today I want to speak to you about the rainbow in the throne room of God in heaven. But first, let's look at the rainbow when it's first mentioned in the Bible. You can find it in Genesis 9. After God had delivered Noah and his family from the flood that took all life from the earth, mankind and beast, God tells Noah, "I will remember my covenant between me and you and every living creature among all flesh, so that the water shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures, all flesh that is on the earth. That," God said to Noah, "shall be the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth." Do you have times of darkness in your life? Do you have times when you feel that you're being sucked under, that you're in a flood of your own making, or being overcome by the flood of some other person who has affected your life? There are stories in the Bible that talk about a reverse flood. The most famous one is when God parted the Red Sea when the Hebrews were fleeing Egypt. The Egyptian army was in pursuit of them. The Israelites made it to the borders of the Red Sea. And as I discussed in a previous podcast, God blew his breath all night long in the affliction of the darkest night of their soul. He blew his breath across the waters where they walked upon dry land. We also see this again when the Israelites have been 40 years in the wilderness and they're coming to the Jordan River. And the Jordan River, it's springtime, it's at flood stage. But the priest, as soon as they touched the water's edge with their feet, the priests were carrying the Ark of the Covenant of God. The waters departed. The waters upstream stopped flowing. The priest who carried the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord stopped in the middle of the Jordan and stood on dry ground while all Israel passed by until the whole nation had completed the crossing on dry ground. You read about that in Joshua 3. But what about your life? How do you hold on to this promise of God in your life? Let's look at Revelation 4. Let's look at the throne room of God. When John, the apostle of Jesus, the last one who was left alive, was on the Isle of Patmos, he was carried away in the Spirit. It says in Revelation 4, "And behold, a throne stood in heaven, with one seated on the throne, and he who sat there appeared like the crystalline sparkle of a jasper stone." The jasper stones come in red and green, but the rarest of them is blue. So let's continue reading. "He who sat there appeared like the crystalline sparkle of a jasper stone and the fiery redness of a sardis stone. And encircling the throne there was a rainbow that looked like the color of an emerald." And if we look farther in Revelation 4, it talks about surrounding the throne was a sea of glass. When I think about the rainbow, when I think about the promise of God in storms that I see here where I live, but I see the sun hit a cloud and I see the rainbow, I remember that promise and I remember the throne room of God. So in the fiery trials of my life, the storms of my life, when I feel like there's a flood overflowing me, remember that God can reverse the flood. His promise is for everlasting. He desires relationship with you. When you repent, when you turn from the direction you're going, you either serve one master, either God or the enemy of darkness. But when you turn from the enemy of darkness to God, that promise of the rainbow, the promise of his throne, the promise of his presence is in your life. Ezekiel chapter 1 says, as the rainbow appears that is in the cloud in the day of rain, so was the appearance of his brightness all around. Remember that you are worthy of rescue, that you are pursued by God.